Chapter 1: The Enchanted Portal. The morning sun beamed mischievously through the leafy canopy of Gigglewood Forest, casting dappled patterns on the forest floor. It was here, amid a symphony of chirps and rustles, that Poppy the parrot and Benny the bunny found themselves in a pleasantly familiar pickle. "Did you see the size of that gumdrop?" Poppy squawked, his vibrant feathers shimmering as he flapped down next to Benny. "It's enormous," Benny replied, twitching his nose and wiggling his cotton-white tail. "Almost too perfect. It's hidden away like it's guarding something." They peered at the radiant gumdrop nestled against the base of an old wattle tree, its sugary surface glistening in the morning light. "Do you think it's edible?" Benny asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. "Well, there's a magical twinkle about it," Poppy noted, cocking his head. "Maybe it's not just a treat for the tongue." "Then what's it for, Poppy?" Benny pressed, bouncing from paw to paw, jittery excitement bubbling in his voice. "Let's find out," Poppy declared, his adventurous spirit unfurling like his wings ready for flight. As the two observed the gumdrop more closely, Poppy noticed a shimmer in the air just behind it. "Look, Benny, there's something off, like the air's not quite right." Benny tilted his head, eyes squinting. "It's wiggly, like jelly." "A portal, perhaps," Poppy suggested with a dramatic flutter. His adventurous heart beat just a bit faster at the thought. Benny's ears perked up. "Ooh, a portal. To where, do you think?" "Could be anywhere," Poppy trilled. "A land of candy mountains or a sea of bubbles. Or giant carrots," Benny added, his eyes twinkling at the thought. They circled the gumdrop, pondering the possibilities, each contemplating the unknown. Benny murmured, "What if it's dangerous?" "Ah, Benny," Poppy chirped, "we'll never know unless we peep beyond its boundary. Think of it, a new adventure awaits." "You're right," Benny agreed, his bunny heart racing with the thrill of a quest. "But we should probably leave a note in case anyone comes looking for us." With a leaf plucked from nearby, Benny scratched out a quick message with his paw. "Off on an adventure. Back soon." Satisfied with their plan, the two stepped closer. "You go first," Benny offered, a mix of eagerness and hesitation in his voice. "I think together is best," Poppy giggled, nudging Benny gently. "Together," Benny echoed, a grin spreading across his furry face. And so, with the enchantment of promise sparkling in their eyes, Poppy and Benny clasped paws, took a deep breath, and stepped through the shimmering veil of the portal. Their leap into the unknown filled the air with a sense of magical possibility, drawing shut behind them like a silken curtain swishing closed. They were gone, carried away on the wings of adventure, leaving only giggles and hopeful anticipation echoing in Gigglewood Forest. "In for a penny, in for a pound," Benny whispered as they vanished, his ears twitching with the thrill of what lay beyond. "Adventure awaits," Poppy cheered. The portal rippled and sparkled behind them, sealing their path with a swirl of mystique as they dove eagerly into whatever wonders awaited them on the other side. Chapter 2: Welcome to Tiny Town. As Poppy and Benny landed on the other side of the portal, they found themselves in a world where everything seemed just a pint-sized version of what they were used to. Tiny, yet enchantingly picturesque buildings lined cobblestone streets, and flower pots hung from every window with blooms almost as big as the houses themselves. "Benny," whispered Poppy, his parrot eyes wide with wonder, "have we shrunk, or is everything else just smaller?" Benny furrowed his brow and wiggled his nose. "I think we're in a place that's naturally mini." His voice carried a mix of awe and excitement, matching the sparkle in his eyes. Just then, they heard a zipping sound overhead, like a tiny motorboat speeding through the air. A blur of iridescent colors looped above them, back and forth, with excited laughter tinkling in the breeze. "What's that?" Benny asked, hopping slightly in place as he tried to follow the quick movement with his eyes. Before Poppy could offer a guess, the blur stopped abruptly midair, revealing a petite dragonfly with polka-dotted wings. She was buzzing in energetic circles, her tiny face breaking into a wide grin when she saw them. "Hello down there, I'm Dot, Dot the Dotty Dragonfly," she chirruped, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. Her dots seemed to twinkle under the cheeky sunbeams. "Hello, Dot," Poppy greeted, flapping up to hover beside her. "I'm Poppy, and this is Benny. We've just arrived in, Tiny Town," Benny finished for him, giggling at the aptly descriptive name. Dot giggled back, buzzing around them with excitement that seemed almost infectious. Oh, am I glad to see some newcomers? I'm terribly turned around. I'm trying to find Sillyville's biggest bash, and here I am, completely lost. Lost? Benny exclaimed, his nose twitching with concern. Well, that won't do. We've got the knack for a good quest. Right, Poppy? Absolutely, Poppy nodded, his feathers fluffing up with determination. A bash, you say? Any idea where it might be? It should be somewhere festive, with music and merrymaking, Dot exclaimed, zooming around in visible anticipation. I'm supposed to be helping organize, but oh dear, these tiny lanes are just so twisty. Benny thought for a moment, tapping his foot thoughtfully, as if keeping pace with the hum of the dragonfly's wings. How about we ask around? Surely someone in this town knows the way. Brilliant idea, Benny, Poppy praised, giving a little somersault in the air. What do you say, Dot? We could use a guide who knows these skies. Oh, I'd love that. Let's fly or hop, or however you fancy getting there. Dot spun a loop again, this time with purpose, leading them away from the portal's boundary and into the heart of Tiny Town. As they moved through the charming streets, conversations with various townsfolk unfolded, each character adding a piece to their unfolding map of Tiny Town. First, they met a pair of mice busy with ribbons, who squeaked out a direction between their giggles. Past Frizzle Fountain, then left at the Tickle Tree. That sounds delightful, Benny chuckled, imagining the exuberant tree. Next, a cheerful gnome advised, watch for Whirligig Way, where the breezes whisper secrets. Secrets? Poppy echoed, intrigued. I love secrets. Their journey through Tiny Town was peppered with laughter and curious discoveries, every interaction light-hearted and full of whimsy. Finally, as they paused at Dot's behest beneath a canopy of tiny daisy lights, Dot turned to them, glimmering with gratitude. Thank you for helping me. The pleasure's ours, Benny beamed, hopping with excitement. We're thrilled to be here, Poppy added, his keen eyes scanning for the next adventure. Dot buzzed happily. Onward, let's find that bash and make it the finest celebration Tiny Town's ever seen. With that, the three of them set off once more, chatter and laughter leading their every step deeper into the delightful mystery of Sillyville's legendary bash. And as they followed the winding paths of Tiny Town, the promise of more surprises and friendships along the way glittered as playfully as Dot's polka-dotted wings under the Tiny Town sun. Chapter 3: The Singing Flowers Maze. As the trio continued their cheerful jaunt through Tiny Town, they soon found themselves at the entrance to a sprawling labyrinth filled with a captivating chorus of melodies. We're here, Dot exclaimed, her voice a mix of thrill and excitement. This is the Singing Flowers Maze. Benny's ears perked up, eager and wide-eyed. Singing flowers? Now that's something you don't hear every day. Poppy twirled in the air, his vibrant feathers catching sparkles of light. I've heard stories of such mazes. It's as much a puzzle for the ears as it is for the eyes. Dot hovered nervously, her wings fluttering a staccato rhythm. We need to find the path through their song. If we follow the melody correctly, it should lead us right out to the other side. Archie the ant can show us how. Just then, a tiny ant with a comically oversized leaf hat strolled up to them, his steps brisk and purposeful. You called for Archie? He inquired, his voice surprisingly deep for his diminutive size. Benny leaned forward, smiling broadly. We certainly could use a hand, or in your case 6, Archie. Can you help us find our way through? Absolutely, chirped Archie, tapping his feelers to the beat of the flowers' tunes. All you need is to listen closely and follow the notes that rise. But beware, each wrong step might lead you back to the start. Sounds like a musical adventure, Poppy declared, his own tone sing-songy. Benny, you always have an ear for rhythm. Benny laughed, modestly shrugging. I do enjoy a good tune. He turned to Archie. Any tips before we start this lyrical journey? Just let the music guide you, Archie advised, his antennae swaying in tempo. The right notes harmonize with your steps. Dot twirled midair, pointing at the floral path with a gleam in her eyes. Let's get started. As they stepped deeper into the maze, the flowers erupted into song, each resonant bloom contributing to the animated melody. It was both enchanting and challenging, with each harmonious turn echoing with potential missteps. Benny tapped his paw gently on the ground, discerning which path of flowers sang with vibrant clarity. This way, he chirped with growing confidence, leading them down a corridor of purple pansies, amplifying joyous notes. Poppy hovered alongside him, his eyes closed as he absorbed the lilting harmonies. The melody is ascending, Benny. Keep following that joyful tune. Archie, pacing beside Dot and guiding them with the rhythmic stomp of his tiny feet, added, "Step in sync with the rising notes, and you'll hear the path unfurl." Poppy, Benny, and Dot adjusted their movements, drifting to the tempo Archie pointed towards, their laughter blending with the symphony surrounding them. "Benny," Poppy said with a smirk in his voice, "your ears really do have quite the knack." "Well," Benny replied, grinning ear to ear, "I suppose it's all those lullabies back home in Gigglewood Forest. They taught me how to listen." Dot, watching her two new friends with admiration, buzzed closer with appreciation. "You two are naturals. Sillyville truly needed pals like you to reveal its secrets." The flowers' notes crescendoed into a harmonious finale as the group found themselves at the maze's exit, sunlight streaming through the arches. "We're through," Benny announced, his exhilaration reverberating like the resonant echo of the flowers. "Thanks to teamwork and a good ear," Poppy added, giving Benny a friendly nudge. Dot twirled happily above them, her joy infectious. "I knew we could do it." Archie tipped his leaf hat, satisfaction twinkling in his eyes. "You all made beautiful music together. May the rest of your journey be in perfect harmony." With gratitude and enthusiasm entwining their steps, Poppy, Benny, and Dot set off toward the next leg of their whimsical quest, leaving the enchanting tunes of the Singing Flowers maze behind as a heartwarming memory of melody and camaraderie. Chapter 4: A Splashy Encounter. "Mud puddle, who would have thought?" Poppy remarked as they stood at the edge of a shimmering puddle, glittering under beams of sunlight filtering through the tiny town trees. Benny hopped closer, peering into the water, which was uncannily clear and inviting. "Come to think of it, this puddle doesn't seem muddy at all." Dot circled above, her wings a blur of enthusiasm. "This is no ordinary puddle. If I remember correctly, this is home to Lou, the puddle fairy. She's known for sprinkling fun and mischief in equal measure." Before Poppy or Benny could inquire further, a tiny figure emerged from the puddly depths with a splash that sent droplets dancing through the air. Lou, the puddle fairy, hovered in front of them, water droplets clinging to her delicate gossamer wings. Her laughter was like a cascade of tinkling bells, echoing joyfully around them. "Visitors!" Lou exclaimed, her eyes twinkling merrily. "What brings you to my watery haven?" "We're on our way to Sillyville's biggest bash!" Poppy chirped back, his delight at the fairy's unexpected appearance evident in his ruffled feathers. "And we could use a bit of your guidance, Lou," Benny added, casting her an earnest smile. "Navigating puddles isn't exactly our forte." Lou grinned, her face lighting up with impish delight. "Oh, I do love a good party, but to earn my guidance, you must first entertain me with a silly song." Her voice was full of playful challenge. Her tiny arms folded with an air of playful expectancy. Poppy and Benny exchanged excited glances. "A silly song?" Benny repeated, his nose twitching with the thrill of a new challenge. "Yes," Poppy agreed immediately, lifting off into the air to float beside Lou. "Let's improvise and see where it takes us." Dot landed next to Benny, buzzing with support. "Lead the way. I'm more of a dancer, but I can hum along." Drawing a deep breath, Benny started, his voice light and playful. "In a puddle clear and wide, what mischief could be inside? With friends and tunes, let's explore, splash our way and then some more." Poppy followed his lead, his voice joining Benny's with cheerful vibrato. "Oh, with a hop and a flap, let's go, croak and rhyme, splashy show. To Sillyville, to laughter's call, join us, Lou, and have a ball." Lou clapped her hands, her eyes sparkling with joy. "Splendid, that certainly was a delightful ditty." Dot chimed in with a low hum, giggling all the while, her wings keeping time with the melody. Lou continued, her mood as bright as the rippling water. "With that kind of spirit, you're sure to make it to the bash. The puddle map I guard can help you find your way faster. Follow my ripples and they'll guide you smooth as jelly on toast." Poppy flapped upward with a flourish, joyously circling Benny. "See? There's always a song in every surprise." Benny nodded, pleased with their sing-along. "And singing is so much better with friends." As Lou began her descent, the puddle surface rippled with an ethereal glow. "Follow the glowing path, my friends. It will carry you quickly and safely towards the merriment you seek." With a grateful nod, Benny extended his paw. Thank you, Lou. We couldn't have done it without your magical touch. Fluttering to their level, Lou pressed a tiny hand to her heart with affection. Enjoy the bash, and remember, every song and friend makes the journey brighter. Poppy, Benny, and Dot waved a fond farewell to the bubbly fairy, their spirits buoyant with the echo of their shared tune. As the group followed the shimmering ripple path, Poppy remarked, Well, who would have thought a splashy encounter could be such fun? Benny responded with a chuckle. It's not just about where you go, Poppy. It's the friends you meet and songs you sing along the way. With each step they took, their laughter mingled with the fairies' receding bell-like giggles, setting the rhythm for more adventures and holding within its melody the promise of Sillyville's mysterious and magical awaits. Chapter 5. Challenge of the Giggle Frown. The path led them into a meadow drenched in sunlight, but something peculiar caught Benny's sharp eyes. Hovering overhead was not just any rain cloud, but one particularly curious, casting giggles that abruptly turned into frowns. Now that's odd, Poppy mused, settling onto a branch. A cloud of frowns and giggles. What do you make of that, Benny? Hard to say, Benny replied, his brows furrowing in contemplation. Maybe it's like a riddle to be solved. Dot landed beside them, her usually upbeat demeanor shifting to a subtle concern. Rain clouds in Tiny Town aren't supposed to scowl like that. Just then, a lumbering figure ambled towards them, with a shell that lightly drummed a rhythm upon the ground. It was Tilly the ticklish turtle, her approach gentle and wise, with an abundance of warmth in her eyes. Good afternoon, Tilly called, her voice low and melodic. I see you've stumbled onto old Giggle Frown. Hello, Tilly, Poppy chirped, fluttering excitedly. What can you tell us about this cloud? Tilly settled into the grass, a gentle smile on her face. Giggle Frown's a rare sight, quite the stubborn fellow when he's blue, but there's a trick to turn his frown upside down. Benny leaned forward, his innate curiosity piqued. A trick? What kind? You must tickle his underside with kindness and understanding, Tilly explained, her words resonant like a calming lullaby. But be patient, even clouds can be shy when asked to switch their feelings on a breeze. Dot buzzed gently, the wind whispering through her wings. But how do you tickle a cloud? With words and warmth, replied Tilly, as serene as the waves. Talk to it like you would a friend. Poppy glanced at Benny, bright determination lighting up in his feathers. We've come this far, Benny. What do you say we give it a try? Absolutely, Benny nodded, confidence brimming through his whiskers. Every friend deserves a cheery tune. Why not a cloud, too? With a deep breath, Poppy took to the air, drawing closer to Giggle Frown while Benny stayed near Tilly, whose slow, measured rhythm seemed to comfort everyone. Hello there, Giggle Frown, Poppy began, keeping his tone soft and inviting. Why so serious today? Would you like to join us in a bit of fun? The cloud trembled slightly, droplets shimmering into laughter that turned swiftly back as frowns. Benny took his cue, hopping to approach under the shadow with gentle boldness in his voice. We're on quite the journey to a delightful bash. Maybe you'd like to travel with us, spread some smiles along the way? Giggle Frown hesitated, the ripples of its form flickering between rain and shine. Tilly chuckled softly beside Benny. See, bit by bit, with gentle empathy. Slowly, with coaxing conversation, riddles of joy and hopeful whims exchanged in turn, Giggle Frown's darkened parts began to glow lighter, and a light drizzle fell like the sprinkle of giggles freed from mischief's tight embrace. Dot spiraled nearby, her laugh like a songbird's tweet. Look, Poppy Benny, I think it's working. Tilly beamed, steady and kind. Patience and kindness can weather the grayest skies. Finally, as Poppy and Benny relayed the grand tales of their journey, the flowers and puddles, songs and dotty wings, Giggle Frown released a soft guffaw, clearing into a rainbow's ascent. Cheers erupted from Poppy and Benny, their laugh in harmony with Dot's and Tilly's gentle contentment. Thank you, Tilly, Benny said as they prepared to continue, for teaching us the power of an understanding word. Anytime, dear friends, Tilly replied, her wisdom calmly infusing the air. Your journey is bright and your heart's even brighter. Keep spreading that light. With hearts lightened by laughter and gratitude, Poppy, Benny, and Dot resumed their trek to Sillyville's biggest bash, their steps now guided by a rainbow road and a freshly giggled breeze at their backs. As they waved farewell to Tilly and the now light-hearted Giggle Frown, each step unlocked a laughter and camaraderie that flourished along their path, a path laden with adventure and new friends yet to meet. Chapter 6: Finding the Bash and Friendship's Bloom. As Poppy, Benny, and Dot neared the outskirts of Sillyville, the air grew thick with the scents of candied fruits and popcorn, a sure sign of the festivities ahead. The road further unfurled into vibrant, multicolored cobble lanes, promising the bash they had heard so much about. "I can hear the merriment already," Poppy squawked, his wings fluttering with anticipation. "Smells like sugar clouds and fun." Benny agreed, his nose twitching in delight. Dot, hovering between them, buzzed excitedly. "I've never been to Sillyville's biggest bash, but if the music is as lively as the scents, we're in for quite a treat." Their chatter continued as the landscape opened, revealing an expansive field adorned with string lights, bunting, and balloon arches in a myriad of colors. Creatures of all shapes and sizes were gathered, their laughter painting the air with warmth and joy. "Welcome, welcome," called a giraffe in a polka dot tie, craning his neck to greet newcomers with a wide, friendly smile. "Glad to see new faces. I'm Jerry the Jolly Giraffe, one of today's hosts. Here for the bash, I assume?" "Yes, indeed," Poppy chirped happily, admiring the kaleidoscope of sights. "We've traveled quite the journey to be here." Benny nodded, a satisfied grin on his face. "And it's been worth every step." "Do join the fun," Jerry encouraged, his voice merry. "It's about friendship, laughter, and just a dash of silliness." Dot beamed and twirled joyfully in the air. "We're certainly in the right place, then." As Poppy, Benny, and Dot mingled within the vibrant gathering, they found all sorts of wondrous delights. Games of pin the tail on the moon, snicker pop bounce races, and the tuneful chorus of a frog symphony that triggered skipped beats of joy. Poppy chuckled, watching Benny hop enthusiastically between games. "This really is a bash for the ages." Dot flitted over with a sunflower daisy crown elegantly placed on her head. "Isn't it wonderful? This place feels like the heart of Sillyville." "Absolutely," Benny chimed, adjusting the dapper little bow tie he found at one of the stalls. "And everyone is welcoming and kind." As the sun began to dip in the horizon, painting the sky a soft pink, Jerry announced, "Gather round, friends. It's time for a group round of the Giggle Frown Flip." Poppy, Benny, and Dot eagerly joined the circle, a wonderful mix of faces exchanging friendly glances. "What's the Giggle Frown Flip?" Benny asked the cheerful mouse next to him. "It's all about taking turns sharing a silly story or joke," the mouse replied, wiggling her whiskers with delight. "Then everyone tries their best to turn any frown upside down." Poppy leaned close to Benny, his eyes sparkling mischievously. "Shall we share our tale of Giggle Frown's transformation?" Benny nodded, his heart full of fond memories. It's the perfect story for this moment. As the circle progressed, stories were told, and laughter floated like bubbles in the breeze. Poppy and Benny took turns narrating their whimsical journey with Dot, the enchanted portal, the tuneful maze, Lou's puddle, and of course their encounter with the giggling cloud. Their story was met with applause, smiles, and heartfelt laughter. "How delightful!" Jerry exclaimed, his laugh tall like his frame. "Your adventure embodies the very spirit of this celebration, friendship and smiles shared like the beams of sunlight." With the night falling and the bash winding toward its peak, Poppy and Benny found a quiet spot under a grand old tree, taking a moment to ponder their eventful day. "We did it," Benny murmured, a contented sigh escaping him. "We're part of something truly special." Poppy nodded, his feathers ruffling with joy. "And we've made unforgettable friends." Dot, joining them on a low branch, added softly, "You both brought laughter and light wherever we traveled. I'm so grateful to have met you." The three friends sat quietly, watching fireflies sway in their own joyful pattern before the silvery moon. The echo of shared laughter, strengthening bonds, and the vibrant atmosphere of Sillyville stayed with them long after. When the final notes of music drifted away on the breeze, Jerry announced the closing of the bash with a final toast to friends found and memories made. He concluded with a smile. "Remember, it's the friends beside you that make any journey worthwhile." With the adventure leaving trails of joy sparkling in memory, Poppy, Benny, and Dot embraced the warm sense of belonging they found in their enchanted journey. And as they prepared for the return to Gigglewood Forest, They carried the glow of friendship's bloom with them, a gentle reminder of the magical adventures just across the portal's silken curtain.